Let's go straight to the equities market now, as the Nigerian stock market Wednesday closed bearish with a loss of 47 billion naira, driven by profit-taking activities according to analysts. Profit-taking activities in Dangote Cement and 20 others. The all-share index depreciated by 85.80 solid point, representing a decrease of 0.16% to close at 52,615.51 points. Similarly, the overall market capitalization value lost about 47 billion to close at 28.65 trillion. The market loss was driven by price depreciation in large and medium capitalized stock, among which are Dangote Cement, Dangote Sugar Refinery, Lafarge Africa, Gerrigo Power, and Nigerian Exchange Group. Market breadth closed negative as 21 stocks lost relative to 17 gainers. Meanwhile, the total volume of trade declined by 4.61% to 217.94 million units, which was valued at 4.47 billion. And then exchanged in about 3,000 deals. Now, transactions in the shares of Sterling Bank, which topped the activity chart with about 94.27 million units of shares, which valued at 145.5 million. Zenith Bank followed in the same manner, which shares worth about 416.08. Guaranty Trust Bank is in that category as well. Well, let's bring in our guest now. Now, Bidemi Ogutuashi is Head Operations and Trader at Park Securities Limited. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
And good to see you again. So let's start from, before we get into, of course, we'll look at the fourth quarter earnings, which is expected in the market. But before then, let's quickly look at the market yesterday. With the trading activities yesterday, what would you say was responsible? What are the factors responsible for this negative sentiment in the equities market on Wednesday?
Okay. Thank you once again for having me. Yesterday's activity was majorly driven by profit taking, and as you highlighted in your introduction, among the stocks that decline in their prices is Dansen, Waco, Zenith. Dansen, for example, that opened at 270 kobo, but closed at 265. The size of it in the market is very huge, and that's why you notice that each time it loses, it affects the all-share index in general. The same with Waco and Zenith. So that's what's attributed to the loss of 0.16%.
Okay. So for Dangote Sugar, I beg your pardon, Dangote Cement, rather, of course, there's earnings are going to be coming out any moment from now. Do we expect that sentiment to change any moment? And what is likely going to be the outcome of that report or result that is to come out?
Well, between February and March, we expect most of the listed companies to come out with their Q4 result for last year, and that also marked the full year result for most of the company. So technically, we are entering into the earnings seasons, and then for some of these.
Hello, Mr. Ogutuashi, if you can hear me, but you're trying to expatiate further since we're going into the earnings season. Perhaps yes. there's maybe agitation, will I say fears, or what is likely to come, maybe in regards with those numbers. So talk to us more.
Okay, like I was explaining before, that most of those
well, I think we're still having a kind of disruption to that flow of conversation there. But if you can hear me, I need you to finish on that thought so that we can get into other conversation there. But again, if you look at the fact that the market is expecting the Q4 result, financial result, and that should also mark the financial year for most companies. Maybe, of course, that should be an excitement for most investors to start taking position instead of profit taking, isn't it?
Well, it depends on the sentiment in the market. Like I was trying to explain before, if you have seen the Q1, Q2, Q3, and you are expecting the Q4, which ultimately mark the full year results, so you will have been able to estimate what the final result might be. And I was trying to add that because many of them has a good historical dividends of, a payment of a regular dividend income at the end of their full year. So you might see a situation whereby some investor might be taking position for this dividend income. What happened why we see more of profit taking during this week was because we recall that the second week of the year, many of the stock gain. In fact, we had a weekly gain of about 2.5% thereabouts. So, and this week, many people might want to take some profit and then look for an appropriate time to enter in again and position themselves for dividend, for the oncoming dividend income.
Maybe we should dwell more on the outlook for the fourth quarter earnings before we proceed. Yes, historically, you talk about the first quarter earnings, the second quarter earnings, and the third quarter earnings. If you put those numbers together at the moment historically, so we should begin to perhaps see into what is to come for the fourth quarter at the same time the financial year report. How is that likely to be a motivation or will I say a catalyst for what is to happen in the market, especially with regards to investors' portfolio and reevaluation of their portfolio and taking positions?
Okay. Some of the stocks that are listed in the market, without mentioning any one of them, especially some in the banking sectors, you know that some of them pay final dividends of about 2 naira 70 kobo, 2 naira 80 kobo, and it has been constant for some time. So for those who have studied the company over time, they might want to take position looking at the what they will get after the company finally declared the interest and then begin to take a position. And then you recall that, of course, for some companies under consumer goods, December period used to be a lot of activities. So we also expect that the Q4 result should be better than their results for Q3. So if you have seen up to Q3 results, you will likely have that belief that Q4 results will be better than the quarter four result, knowing fully well that it's around the end of the year where you have a lot of activity, you have a lot of buying and selling in the market. So I'm talking about for those in consumer goods sector, and that's how it relates to other sectors of the economy.
But historically, looking and analyzing the numbers from the first quarter of last year, second quarter, third quarter, so historically, which of the sector really, if you look at the industrial sector is there, you have the banking sector, and of course the consumer goods sector is also there. And so historically, which one is...
Hello, can you come again?
Can you hear me, Mr. Guntrashi? So I was asking you to historically look at some of these sectors that you mentioned. Which one do you think is driving the market? Even though some of these sectors, will I say, yes, they perform, but again, if you have to look at them, it looks like some sectors are better than the others, are major drivers or stronger than the other sectors.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, for example, if you look at the stock under NJ30, you know that it's highly capitalized and liquid stock that form bulk of the component in that sector. So you discover that if this sector loses points, it might affect the index, just like we mentioned the likes of Zenith too, and the Dansen. They are part of NGS static index, and also for the industrial goods, and also especially for stocks that are under the premium board of the NGS. So whatever happened in that area have, a major.
Let me start going to Ashi. I wanted to get you the whatever happens we're trying to explain to us, but again, maybe we should look at perhaps be able to look at the major sectors of the economy. Again, some people believe that economy is whatever happens in the capital market or in the equities market is a reflection of the economy. So I want us to see how we can connect it. The consumer goods, how if they are doing better, it means that Nigerians are probably buying more. But yeah, so it looks that Nigeria probably buy more. So for you, you are in the market. So which sector has been most driving or performing for you if you look back from three sectors, I beg your pardon, 3 quarters ago?
Okay, well, for me, we just, look at the banking sectors, for example. You see that there's no business you want to do in Nigeria today that, you can put them aside. Whether you want to go into other businesses, you will still need to do transactions with your bank. And that's why you see that the CBN, for example, at least to their own best, and to the best of my knowledge, they are trying their best to make sure that, they put a lot of regulatory in place for us to have a sound economy in the country. And that's why you see that they try to come up with a lot of monitoring.
Okay. We're losing connection with your thoughts there. Perhaps the internet connection going poor there. But I would like to hear your thoughts, your final thought on that particular, especially with the performance of the banking sector in the last quarters. Are you there, Mr. Guntuashi? Okay. Are you there? Can you hear me, Mr. Guntuashi? Okay. At this point, I want us to quickly take a break, and when we return, we look at the market today, what is likely to happen today. Of course, we finalize or finish on that thought with Mr. Guntuashi, and then, of course, we'll look at the expectation in the equities market for today. We'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us. Well, we have Mr. Abidemi Oguntuashe. He is the head operations and trading at Park Securities. He's been talking to us on the outlook of the equities market ahead of the fourth quarter earnings expected in the market, and of course what has been going on in the market. Thank you for joining us again. We appreciate your time. Now, talk to us. I wanted to know your thought. Maybe you should finish your thoughts on the banking sector, because you were talking about nobody as maybe except someone that is not doing business. Even someone who is not doing business or for any salary also has to do with banks or transact with bank as well. So you were talking to us about the banking sector, perhaps being the most attractive sector.
Okay. Well, I was explaining that when the banking stock in the economies are doing well, it means that
okay, I think we're having perhaps a very serious downtime with the internet today. But of course, let's quickly look at. Can you hear me now, Mr. Oguntuashi? Can you hear me? But let's quickly look at some of the stocks again in detail. Transactions in the shares of Selling Bank, for instance, topped the activity chart with about 92.27 million units of shares, which was valued at 145 0.59 million naira. Zenith Bank, of course, like he was talking earlier, followed with about 16.91 million unit of shares, worth about 416.08 million naira. Guarantee Trust Bank is also in that category. So it looks like the banking stock was the major sector that dominated the market on Wednesday. Again, maybe that may likely repeat itself today again. Yes, it's possible. But if you can hear me, Mr. Aguntuashi, are you there?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay. So say I need you to finish your thought on the banking sector so we can move to other sectors quickly.
Okay, like I was saying, that you say that the activities in the banking sectors, with the numbers you have read, shows that there are a lot of activities on it, and it means that anytime you bring either any of the stock under this banking sector into the market, you always get a buyer and you always get a seller for it, and that's why you see that the investor have a bit of assurance on the banking sector, and that's why you see them in their number in terms of the trading volume. You always record million, like Zenith that trade up to about 16.9 million, and the same with Sterling Bank and GT Bank. You know, they have the assurance that anytime they bring it to the market, either you want to buy or you want to sell, you always see a counterparty to trade with. That's what happened, and that happened to be the most liquid sector in our market.
Now, let's talk about, for instance, the consumer goods, for instance. So if you look at the pattern of consumption among the Nigerians, it looks like, for instance, the Purchasing Managers Index drop. From last quarter now, or about last year, it has dropped about 50%, according to NBS and some other, research institutions as well, saying the Purchasing Managers Index has dropped. That means the average Nigerian is not consuming as much as they should. So talk to us, is that affecting the consumer sector?
Yes, definitely that will affect the stocks under consumer sectors. Then there are two factors that we need to look at. We need to look at the disposable income of an average individual, and then we also need to look at the inflation rate in Nigeria. This week, the NBS released the inflation of about 21.
Yes. Inflation rate. You talk about the inflation rate, which is above 21% at the moment. Food inflation is, has dropped from 24 to 23%. And maybe that, of course, will be able to, Nigerians should be able to make use of the window to see but how that is to reflect is what we don't know yet. Continue on your thought, please.
So what you see is that the level of
oh my goodness! Again, we're having that disruption again. We hope we can just finish off with this conversation and see. Yes,
revenue intake will be very, very low. So, and that's what happened.
Okay. Now, maybe you should turn our attention to today's activities. It looks like for instance, the insurance sector is in the lead. The consumer sector is also coming good with the likes of Dangote, Sugar. The fixing in the healthcare sector is there. The Jais Bank and the WAPCO seems to be the leading stocks. So, trading at about 8% at the moment, especially for linkage assurance, and Dangote has gone up around 1.7%. Talking about Dangote Sugar. What are the expectations for today? Talk to us. What is likely to dominate the market yesterday? Yes, there was profit taking and sell-offs dominated yesterday, and that's created a downtime in the market. So, but talk to us about today's expectation. Hello, Mr. Oguntuashi, can you hear me? Okay, so we can have him, but let's quickly look at live feeds right now from the trading floor. We have Mr. Oguntuashi, I learned you are there now. So I was trying to get your opinion. How is the market doing now What's the condition? What is the position of the market? Negative or is it positive?
Well, it's a bit of mix. At least we've seen that for the first time, you see price of Zenith and GT Bank coming close around 24 naira 40 kobo, Zenith to 24 naira 40 kobo. So if the trend should continue, I mean, we might see a bit of profit taking, and it might be mixed too. The day is still long. This is about past 11. Between now and 2:30, anything can happen in the market. So that's it.
Okay. Well, so okay. Now let's talk about before I let you go. How is the inflation rate, shaping the direction of the market? Are we seeing any impact of the numbers on the market?
Well, because the reduction or the decline in the figure is not that much, it's slightly marginal compared to what we have in the previous month. So it's not that significant enough to impact the market. And inflation is not the only thing you consider in our market. You also need to consider our currency depreciation.
Yes.
So which is very key. And those are the other things that we need to look at in the market. It's not just the inflation. The currency depreciation is a major additional issue in the market.
How is that measured in the market? Do you use the exchange rate to measure that? How it affects the investors trying to convert their naira to, I beg your pardon, the dollars to naira here before they can access the market? Is that how you measure it?
Well, that as of now, in as much as we have many multiple exchange windows, it will always have an impact in the market. So be that as it may, where you have a situation where you have a higher risk, you also have a higher risk return. Just like I always say, for those who dare to, take the risk, at the end of the day, they might, take a better return. So it's a win-win situation. It's for investors to sit down and analyze its position very, very well. Another key thing is that investors need to know is that this market is a long-term market. It's a long-term market. When there's time for short-term investing, the investors themselves will realize, they will know. So, but this time around, investors need to take caution and invest long.
Okay. I think we need to leave you there. Just about 2 hours into today's trading. Let's leave you to monitor the market. Thank you so much. Abidemi Oguntoashi is head of operations and trader at Park Securities Limited. We appreciate your time. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're still watching Business Breakfast, coming to you live from our studios here. And after the break, still to come, iBrandTV takes a look at the state of Nigeria's economy ahead of the 2023 general elections, as experts warned that unemployment rate may hit 37% in 2023 amid rising poverty. Well, this is our next talking point on the show. We'll be back in a moment. This is Business Breakfast.